Shalom, everybody. Welcome to this week's Journey Through Torah. This week, we're in parashat Shoftim, which means judges. We see that when Yahweh brings them into the land, he wants them to set boundaries, organization, laws, rules. These are all things that Yahweh said, I want you to establish in your land so that it goes well with you. And so essentially, let me kind of paraphrase it this way, so that we learn to continue to walk in his ways, no matter where we live, no matter where we're at, that we do what he says, and that brings about life and blessing. Now, understand, these were not just men who were just kind of ran for office and appointed, and I mean, the way this works, we see throughout the scriptures that, like example with Moshe, he was to teach the people the Torah, and then to discern from among these people which were these leaders, who were the ones to be put in these places, who were the ones that could be trustworthy to teach and show the people Yahweh's heart, to show them his ways. This is one of the jobs that the Kohanim and the Leviim, the priests and the Levites, they were supposed to teach the people the Torah. And a judge has to know what the Torah is, because if not, he will pervert justice. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But we say, wait a minute, do we really want judges? Yes, we do, because we don't want to live in a place of anarchy. You know, we don't, no one likes to be told what to do, okay? People don't like rules, and it's that American rebellion, right? No one's going to tell me what to do. But yet, at the core of society, we need order and structure so that we can operate and function as a good society, not as a dysfunctional society, so that we can be a people who show Yahweh's ways. It's not something we're just going to automatically do. No, we need to know what they are. And so part of teaching Yahweh's ways to us was giving judgments and doing these between the people, okay? But we had to make sure it was done the right way. That's why we read, we're starting off in Deuteronomy 16:18. It says, you shall appoint judges and officers in all your towns that Yahweh your God is giving you, according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. See that? Righteous judgment. So who determines what righteousness is? Who determines what rules we are to follow? It can't be our own idea of it, because a lot of people's idea of what justice and righteousness is I got my way. You know, I can do what I want, and that's good. No, that's not always good. A lot of times we think we're right and we're not. So we need people to help establish us to walk in the path, to walk in the ways. Another interesting thing is judges and officers. Shoftim is judges. Shotrim are officers. Shotrim is also it's related to the same word used today in Israel for like police officers. So officers to help establish and uphold the order of law. Now, I know this is kind of a rough way to start, right? This is kind of a rough thing to get in, and just talking about things like this makes a lot of people's skin crawl. But here's the truth. Rules without relationship creates and produces rebellion, right? Someone just telling you, you're going to do this, and we enforce it, that thing rises up in you that wants to rebel, right? But relationship without rules, it's chaos, it's confusion, it's lawlessness, and that's not good. All right, relationship without boundaries. See, if I kind of put it that way, then some people don't have a problem with it. We all need boundaries in our lives. You know, things we don't cross, things we don't do, things that we allow people to do with our lives, and then not encroach upon certain areas in our lives. We all have boundaries. Well, Yahweh has boundaries, and he wants us to live according to his ways with each other. And his boundaries says is righteousness. And righteous behavior, righteousness, is taught in the Torah. And so when we are walking in Yahweh's ways, when we're walking in his word, which is his heart that he had given us, he is teaching us how to walk in his righteousness, not our own. We can't be righteous on our own. Our good and our best is just not enough. But when he tells us to follow him, right? Yeshua said, follow me, right? That means we put everything else aside, all the preconceived ideas, all the everything, and we learn. We follow him and go along the way. That's what Yahweh is telling us to do. When we're learning to follow him, we're learning what righteousness is. We're learning to follow and walk in his ways. Essentially, when we believe Yahweh, we do what he says. Because we see that belief and faith, same words here, emunah, it's an action. It's something that you do. All right, you believe, therefore you act on what you believe. And we see that in Romans 4:3 when he speaks of Abraham, right? Abraham believed Yahweh, and it was counted to him as righteousness. He didn't say that he was just righteous. He said that he believed Yahweh, and it was counted to him as righteousness. Well, how did he believe Yahweh? He followed him. He did what Yahweh instructed of him. James puts it this way. James 1:22-24 says, "Be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. If anyone is a hearer of the word but not a doer, then he's like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror, and he looks at himself and then goes away and at once forgets what he looks like." It's not just about hearing the word, it's about to hear the word, receive it, and do it. And that's when we learn to walk in his ways, which is justice and righteousness. Deuteronomy 16:20 says justice, justice, or righteousness, righteousness. It's the same word. Tzedek, tzedek. Justice and justice you must pursue so that you will live and inherit the land that the Lord your God is giving you. See, tzedek is the word for justice, is the word for righteousness. Tzedek is a righteous man. Tzedekah is charity. Okay? So when we're doing good to one another, we're doing what Yahweh said is justice and righteousness, learning to walk in his ways. What he teaches us is to pursue justice, but pursue it justly. Do the right thing the right way. It's not just a matter of, well, the ends justify the means. No, do the right thing the right way. Justice justly. And we're supposed to know that. We know what justice is if we stay in the word. The word of Yahweh teaches us how to discern our own hearts. That's what Hebrews 4:12 tells us, right? That the word of Yahweh is sharper than a two-edged sword, teaching us to discern between, right? Teaches us to discern even our own hearts and the own intent of why we do the things that we do. And it's the word of Yahweh within us, being written in us, that will equip us to know what righteousness is, to know what justice is, and to know the heart of the Father. Isaiah 51:7 says, "Listen to me, you who know righteousness." Tzedek, you who know righteousness. Well, who are the ones who know righteousness? He continues, "The people in whose heart is my Torah." So if we have the Torah in our heart, then we should know righteousness. And guys, that's going to affect how we live with one another. If we are getting into the word of Yahweh, if we're getting into the Torah and it's just teaching us to be judgmental, critical, just a critical spirit, and always harassing everybody and telling everybody what's always wrong and everything, then we've really missed the point. If we're pursuing justice, if we're pursuing righteousness, it starts with us. And then we will learn to walk with one another in a way to help each other in the same way, right? It's not just a matter of when somebody falls, you kick them when they're down. No, when they fall, you get them up and you help them along the way and teach them maybe how to not to fall into that trap again. All right? We learn his ways and learn to do that. So what does righteousness mean for us? Psalm 5:8 says, lead me, Yahweh, in your righteousness because of my enemies. Make the way straight before me. Right? So again, if we're walking in his ways, it's making the path straight for us because we're walking in his ways. Psalm 23:3, guys, the Lord is my shepherd, right? It says he restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his namesake. To lead me in paths of righteousness is learning to walk in his word. And then Psalm 14:34 says, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. So righteousness exalts a nation, not just one person, a nation. Well, how can righteousness exalt a nation when the nation is walking righteously? How does a nation walk righteously? When they learn the words of Yahweh and learn to walk in them. And they have people in their midst to help teach them these ways and help to instruct. And this is one of the things that we continue to learn in the Torah portion this week, that the king of Israel was to have, I'm going to paraphrase this, the Torah within him. See, and is to walk in the Torah himself. Now, guys, I'm going to kind of put this parallel in there, Yeshua being the living word, right? He teaches us how to walk according to the word. And if we're learning the heart of Yahweh, learning the word of Yahweh, it's going to have an outer reflection of us. The things that we do we want to represent the kingdom. The things that we say, we're going to want to represent Yahweh in those things, not our own. We don't learn we don't learn Yahweh's word to try to look down on everybody. We don't learn his word to try to say we're better than everybody, because the more you get into the word, the more you realize, wow, I'm really undeserving. I really need to repent, or, it just humbles us, right? And that was the idea why the king was supposed to have the Torah and to write a copy of the Torah. We see in Deuteronomy 17, 18, and 20, says, so when the king occupies the throne, he is to write a copy of this Torah. Et Mishnah Torah. Mishnah is the word to duplicate, or to fold over, to duplicate. He is to write a copy of this Torah for himself, but it specifically says the same Torah that the Kohanim and the Leviim use, the same Torah that the priests and the Levites use, which means the priests and the Levites are going to be standing right there with him as he's copying this Torah letter by letter for himself. He can't say the king has to write a copy of the Torah for himself and he can make some adjustments along the way. No, he is to write it exactly as the priests and the Levites have kept the integrity of it from time to time to time. And when he does this, it is to remain with him, and he is to read from it every day for as long as he lives. Why? Now, for another thought here, how is he going to keep it with him wherever he goes? There's only one way to truly and really do that, and that's to get it in you. Okay? So he is to keep a copy of it wherever he goes and take it with him wherever he goes. And that's good advice for us too. But what does it produce? It's just so that he will learn to fear Yahweh as God and to keep all the words of this Torah and all these laws and obey them. And continuing on, it says so that he will not think he's better than his kinsmen, so that he will not think he's better than his brothers. And he won't turn aside to the right or to the left from the mitzvah. In this way, he will prolong his life, his reign, and for all the children of Israel. So he is not to, as he's reading the word, he's getting in there, he is not to think because he's a king, he's better than anybody else. But he is to think, essentially, he is a servant for his brothers. He is humble, right? Meek, right? And making the comparison again to Yeshua, our king is the word, is the living word. He came to show us how to live the word, and he was meek. He showed us how to do this. And it's the word in our hearts that changes us. And we're to carry that with us wherever we go. Jeremiah 31:33 says, this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. It says, I will put my Torah within them and write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, they will be my people. We have the Torah written within us, and that's how we carry it within us. And not this is what I feel God is saying. No, what does he say? See, because a lot of times we try to interpret some things and try to make things say something that it doesn't say. So that's why, like when the king was writing the copy, he had a priest and a Levite standing there with him. So when he tried to say, hey, I think I should change this to say this, it's like, no, you can't do that. See, we need to understand that as well. Okay, so that we learn to walk in Yahweh's ways wherever we go, in Israel or even in the nations or wherever we are. Deuteronomy 18:9-14 tells us that as well. So when you enter the land that Adonai is giving you, you are not to learn how to follow the abominable practices of those nations. There must not be found among you anyone who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, a diviner, a soothsayer, an enchanter or a sorcerer, a spellcaster, a consulter of ghosts or spirits, or a necromancer. Whoever does these things is detestable to Adonai. Because of these abominations, Adonai your God is driving them out ahead of you. You must be wholehearted with Adonai your God. For these nations which you are about to dispossess, listen to soothsayers and diviners, but for you, Adonai your God does not allow you to do this. We are to be wholehearted to Yahweh. And that goes back to learning what justice and righteousness is. Because when we learn to discern these things, it teaches us what his ways are. And when we walk in righteousness, we're following Yahweh. That's it, right? Genesis 6:9 says Noah was a man righteous and wholehearted, and he walked with Yahweh. See that? Righteous and wholehearted. We are to be wholehearted wholehearted to Yahweh. When we're walking with him, we are being wholehearted to him. We're not divided in our loyalty. Exodus 25:2 says, tell the people of Israel, take up a collection for me, accept a contribution from anyone who wholeheartedly wants to give. See that? Being wholehearted and giving of ourselves into what is best for the community and what is best for the people. 1 Kings 8:61 says, be wholehearted with Adonai your God, living by his laws and observing his mitzvot as you are doing today. And Jeremiah 29:13 says, when you seek me, you will find me when you search for me wholeheartedly. So we are to be wholehearted to Yahweh. And where do we learn this? What are we supposed to do with all of our heart? What did Yeshua say? Matthew 22:37-40 says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend or hang all of the Torah and the prophets. See, if we're doing these two things, then we are really observing the rest of the Torah, because all of the Torah can fall under one of these two categories. And that's when it becomes real for us. Okay? And we know Yeshua was quoting in there the first, the Shema, Deuteronomy 6, right? Hear Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your might, right? So we are to be wholehearted to Yahweh. And we talk about giving him our heart. And when we do that, we're learning to walk in his ways, in his righteousness, all of these things. In other words, the things that Yahweh holds dear, I want to hold dear. The things that he says is important, I want to see as important. And we are learning this all along the way, right? So do we stop to think about Yahweh's heart in the midst of all of this? Especially really good in America. We're really good at saying, well, I think, or what I want, or, well, everything my heart desires, and it's not good. We need to stop to think about Yahweh's heart. What does Yahweh hold dear? What does he desire? And his heart, let's learn this, is revealed in his word. He gave us his word to teach us his heart, to teach us his ways. And so when we get into the word, we're going to learn his ways. We're going to learn what righteousness is. We're going to love him. We're going to walk with him, and we're going to pursue him. And then we're going to do that with one another as well. We're going to learn to dwell together with each other. What we find out is that Yahweh's heart is revealed in his people. How so? Because his word is in you. And so we express the heart of the Father in our lives through us, right? And understanding, guys, what has Yahweh called us to do? The same thing he's done for you. Yahweh still restores his people. He still heals his people. He still calls them together to be holy. He still calls them out as a body. He still gives you his presence and causes you to live in ways that overcome this world, and continually keeps the promise of his continual restoration before you. We are to live like that, okay? Matter of fact, if we learn this, there's really only one place in the Torah where Yahweh says he's going to do something with all his heart. I say Torah, meaning the Torah, the prophets, and the writings, the words and instructions of Yahweh. It's actually in Jeremiah. Jeremiah 32:41 says, I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and with my whole soul. See that? The thing that Yahweh says he's going to do with his whole heart is restore the people of Israel back to the land that he promised them. That's a matter of bringing all the people together from wherever they are in the world. And we see this over and over and over again. Yeshua said, I've been sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. We see I have other sheep that are not in this pen. I need to gather and bring them in. We see through the prophets that when the sign is lifted up on the hill, that sign will gather all nations to Yahweh. This sign is Yeshua. He is lifted up there at the hill, and he is that sign that brings all people back into a place of covenant with Yahweh. Righteousness and restoration go together. What we learn is that people walking in covenant play a role in the restoration of all things. In other words, when you surrender your life to Yahweh, you learn to walk with him, you're learning to walk in his ways, we're doing what his word says, we're literally bringing about a restoration of all things, and ultimately we're waiting for the ultimate restoration and redemption when he returns, right? But we are actually and actively doing what he says to restore his kingdom here on earth. N.T. Wright states this way, that the covenant with Israel was always designed to be God's means of saving and blessing the entire cosmos. That's a pretty bold statement. He says that the covenant with Israel always designed by God's means of saving and blessing the entire cosmos, not just one people, not just the people called the Jewish people, no, the entire cosmos. And before you think, well, that's kind of new agey, it's not, because I'll show you the scripture for it, okay? You get, N.T. Wright continues, you get the cosmic reach as in Genesis 12, as in Isaiah 40 to 55, as in the Psalms, as in Romans 8, and in 1 Corinthians 15, not by bypassing covenant, but by fulfilling it. See that all these blessings, not just for one person, but the blessings for a people and a restoration of a people and a restoration of the kingdom, and all of these things is by walking in covenant, by fulfilling the covenant Yahweh has given to you. So if you have a problem with that word cosmos, it's in the scripture, guys, John 3:16, where it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life, right? That word world is not ethnos, like ethnicity. It's not literally a word for earth. Literally, the word that's used here is cosmos. Cosmos, which means the proper arrangement of something. The proper arrangement of something. The order of things. We could say, for God so loved the everything he created in the order that he created it, that he gave his only son. Why? To bring back this perfect order that he created, to restore not just the people, but all of creation itself. See that? So more things to think about there. So the question here is, do we have his heart? Are we learning to walk in paths of righteousness? Do we have his heart? Do we learn to follow him? If we do, if we love him, we will walk in his ways, which means we're going to walk in his righteousness. We're going to walk in his justice. We're going to walk in all of these things and applying first to ourselves and then letting it reach out to others. Deuteronomy 10, 12, and 13 says, now Israel, what does Yahweh your God require of you? But to fear Yahweh your God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, and to serve Yahweh your God with all your heart and with all your soul, to keep the commandments of Yahweh and his statutes that I command you this day for your good. Which means when we learn to walk in his ways, it's a blessing. It produces good for us. We need to learn to walk as he walked, right? What does it say in 1 John 1, 6, and 7? It says, if we say we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth. But if we walk in light as he is in the light, then we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Yeshua, his son, cleanses us from all sin. We learn to walk as he walked. We learn to do the things he did. And he said he is the light of the world. But he also told his disciples, you are the light of the world. That's learning to walk in his ways. That's learning to let your light shine. Even when he says in Matthew 5, where he says, don't think I've come to do away the Torah of the prophets, he says, continues on through here, where he says, let your light shine. How do we do that? Go back to what he was just reading, by walking in his word, learning the commandments, and learning to walk in his ways and teaching others what his word says. 1 John 2, 3, and 6 says, so hereby we know that we know him if we keep his commandments. And he that says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoso keeps his word, in him is the love of God perfected. And hereby we know that we are in him. He that says he abides in him ought to walk as he walked. What does that mean? We love him, keep his commandments. And that means we are walking in the heart of the Father, because he is teaching us his heart in his word, which we see again, going back to the prophets, Ezekiel 11, 19 to 21, says, I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of their flesh and give them a heart of flesh, and that they may walk in my statutes. See this? Yahweh says, I will give them one heart, give them a new spirit, right? I will put my spirit in them, is what he's saying. So when he gives us his spirit, he says it equips us to walk in his statutes, keep his ordinances, and do them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Ezekiel 36, 24 to 28, going same thing. I will take you from the heathen, gather you out of all the countries, bring you into your own land, and then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness, from all your idols will I cleanse you. A new heart will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit in you and cause you to walk in my statutes. You shall keep my judgments and do them. And now keep reading, verse 28. And you shall dwell in the land that I give to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I will be your God. See that? When we walk in his ways, it's a restoration of all things, because our heart is to love him. We love him, we'll walk in his ways, and he equips us with his spirit to walk in his word. And what does he say? They will be my people, I will be their God. And the promises that I have given for them, they will have. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but that's it, guys. Yahweh has promises and good things for those that are his. We learn to walk with him, and then we can have those things. We can learn to walk in these blessings that he's given for us. Like Yeshua said, follow me. He didn't say talk about me. He said follow me, right? That affects how we live. So it's a lot in there today, guys. And I hope that this has been an encouragement to you, challenged you as well. That's the idea, to be challenged to change and to continue to pursue the heart of the Father. So if this has encouraged you and challenged you, been a blessing to you, then please share it. Whatever avenue you watch or you listen to these videos or podcasts or whatever, please share them, help get them out there. If it's been a blessing to you, it's going to bless somebody else, right? So help us get that out there. And then if this has been a blessing to you, then please consider making a donation to help us continue to make these and put them out. We can only do that because you help us to do so. Okay, with that, guys, be blessed, be a blessing, and shalom.